docket that's going to come out of Washington, D.C. It means a fundamental change, not only in immigration law, if it does indeed pass both bodies of Congress and gets the president's signature. It's going to mean a fundamental change in immigration law, but also a fundamental change in immigration philosophy in this country, something very, very new to America. And that is, you can come in and violate our sovereignty, you can break our law, you can break into our country, probably through the southern border, and then you can get rewarded. No matter what age you are, that's not the point. The bottom line is we're rewarding this behavior if indeed something becomes law on DACA.
Well, I mean, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is to say that many of the people whose protection is up for debate are people who were brought to the country by their parents when they were mere babes in arms. And if we're talking about people like that, you know, do we punish them by kicking them back out of a country where they grew up basically against their will?
I get that.
And I think that's the flip
But
side
I'm
of the
talking
coin
about
here.
the law. I'm talking about the law and the philosophy of the law, right? I mean, I've heard this argument a million times. That, you know, they were just kids. I get it. But they're still illegal, right? So it would mean a fundamental philosophical change
so what do you do
in
about
immigration law. So what do I do about it? You want to know what I do about illegals in this country? I deport them all. That's what I do. But I'm talking about the law. This means a philosophical change in the law, correct?
Well, it does, and it's a question that probably should have been dealt with years ago if you're of your viewpoint and of a conservative viewpoint. Look, should things have been more toughly enforced 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when many of these folks who are now calling themselves dreamers wanted to come into the country? Well, the answer in many camps is yes, probably that's what should have happened. But now it's a problem that everyone faces together. People who agree that they should be able to stay, people who disagree that they should be able to stay, and how do we deal with it? Do we send someone who's 20, 30 years old to a country that they've not been in since they were 10 months old, 5 months old, something like that? You know, how do we deal with it?
I think that we ought to ask.
Of course, the Trump administration has taken a tough line on it.
I think I would ask their parents, what were they thinking? That's how I would deal with it. But let's move on, because
I would too.
So it's coming full circle now, real quick. Multiple states now are allowing these DACA people who are illegal immigrants to practice law within the confines of their borders. California among them, New Jersey, New York. There's a whole list of at least 5, and there are probably others considering it right now. How in the world can we confer the ability to practice law on people who necessarily, again, age doesn't matter, have necessarily broken the law?
Well, I think that you have to unwind the ball of facts up in that argument. One of the issues is, okay, well, who is the primary lawbreaker, to use some of your words? Is it the parents who brought some of these infants and these children into the country, and the people who are now applying for bar membership were basically just brought in as children, not necessarily knowing all of the ramifications of it? You know, how do you break that down? And I think that what the bar associations are doing is they're looking at the issue and saying, okay, if the person has satisfied the educational requirements and doesn't have a record of convictions, which is what bar associations look at when they're determining whether someone is fit to practice, if the person has no records of conviction and that person has met the educational requirements and that person is willing to take the oath to be an attorney, which is a sobering oath, when you raise your hand in front of the justices of the Supreme Court of that state and you vow to do the best to uphold the Constitution of the state and the U.S. government, bar associations take that seriously.
I'm sorry to laugh, but you know, you swear to uphold the Constitution, the very sovereignty that you violated, whether you were doing it or you were a part of it because you were with your family or not. It just makes no sense
so that's
to
the
a rational
differentiation. I think that's the differentiation many people are going to look at.
It makes no sense to
if there is a record of punishment, if the federal government comes down and punishes these folks, then the bar associations might have to take the next step in the analysis and say, we have to deal with it at that point. But if people don't have a record of punishment, if they don't have a record of conviction, then the bar association is saying, okay, look, we'll admit you.
It's just fascinating to me the bar association would even weigh in like this. But I guess that pretty much defines how the bar association is in 2018. The bottom line I look at it, Aaron, is very simple. We're either a nation of laws or we're not. And I hope we're still a nation of laws. Aaron, thanks.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.